Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final webinar in our AI in Information Literacy series brought to you by the UDC Library. My name is Megan Kowalski, and I am the Outreach and Reference Librarian. Today's session, AI in Searching as Exploration, will be presented by my colleague, Chris Anglum. I will be back at the end of the session to moderate questions, and we'll have time for questions both recorded and unrecorded. But if you have any questions as we go, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. So I'm going to hand things off to Chris right now. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. And I'm very glad to be here. I'm Chris Anglum, and our presentation today is going to be on AI and searching as exploration. And welcome. And this is a view of our new library. If you have not been here yet, you're more than welcome to come. It's a wonderful place, wonderful uh, place for research and meeting your friends and so on. A good place for socializing and friendship and research. So, as an overview, we are exploring how AI is transforming how we are researching, discovering, and evaluating information. We are also examining how AI tools can both enhance and complicate the iterative, nonlinear nature of searching. In so doing, we are considering effective strategies to guide students to match their search approaches to specific needs, critically evaluating sources that AI suggests, while also remaining flexible and creative in their information gathering process. Faculty, we hope, will gain practical insight for designing assignments and research activities that cultivate strategic, reflective, and resilient search skills in the AI-augmented learning environment. So in searching with AI, our purpose for searching with and exploring using AI is that searching is intended to discover and find meaning in information. AI speeds up discovery while changing how researchers do their work. Our goal is to help you design learning activities for these realities for combining both strategic and critical searching. We do not only focus on the process, how we do the searching, and on both the process and how the searching unfolds, in addition to the tools themselves. While searching remains focused on the inquiry, AI both changes the pace and pathways of the search, and we'll explain that as we move along. So, what does searching as exploration mean? Searching is not merely a straight, effortless means to an answer. Exploration is iterative, meaning it's very changeable. You would try and then notice and revise, and then try, notice, and revise again. So the exploration can be very nonlinear at times in your discovery and use of AI, like much of other types of research. The trails can be diverse and converge, both diverge and converge. Exploration involves uncertainty. You don't know what you haven't learned yet until you run into a situation where you need to learn about how to resolve a situation. So effective research often then is kind of messy. Learners learn by updating and revising their question in the process of gathering new evidence as they move along in this process. So how does AI change the starting point? From the key, so we're moving from a keyword search that most of us know or learned some time ago to a more conversational discovery, and then back and forth at keyword search and back and forth to in our conversational discovery. AI is dramatic on how people find information, moving from a process of keyword foraging to one of conversational discovery. This shift changes the starting point of any search from matching fragments of text to understanding, discerning really the user's true intent in their search. So one of the things that's a reality is a context over matching. Keyword search looks for the exact, keyword search looks for the exact matches. Conversational discovery, on the other hand, uses a natural language processing and knowledge graphs to understand the context and the nuance beyond the researcher's query. This concludes. In this discussion, we talk about interactive loops. Unlike the one-shot nature of traditional searching, keyword searching, discovery is an iterative dialogue. Users can ask broad questions, receive a synthesized answer, and then receive an answer with follow-up prompts like from AI, like make this budget more, make this result more budget conscious, use more current sources, information like that, sort of guiding you along to something that perhaps is more what you are looking for than what you exactly put in your search. Remember that AI is trying to guess what you are trying to really search for. So, in addition to being very uh, literal, like a computer search, it also attempts to be very intuitive. So, we're looking at guidance versus answers. Search typically answers ask, where is it? Whereas discovery focus on what should I be considering or what am I missing? So in this sense, AI acts as a guide, helping users to uncover options that they hadn't really explicitly thought to name, and then back and forth like that. So AI can often suggest questions, keywords, search directions, and summaries to uh, help lead you in developing your search, making this one of the more helpful aspects of AI searching. AI can help suggest ways to get started with the writing process. You need to be aware, however, of the risk and limitations. One of the risks is that AI may overframe what seems to be relevant too early. In other words, so you don't want to cut off your search before you have come up with an effective answer. You want to make sure that you go through the entire research process. So, in other words, in its efforts to be efficient, AI can narrow the scope of an issue too quickly, prematurely deciding what information is relevant and what is not. So, in a question like help me refine a research question about AI in education, AI may suggest search terms and differing definitions of learning analytics. So, what are some of the synonyms you should think about in your pre-research efforts before you even get onto AI? You may want to think about, and again, your question is help me to refine a research question about AI in education is educational data mining, academic analytics, and predictive modeling. So keep in mind doing a bit of a bit of homework prior to even going on to AI may help you develop better research results at the end. So what are they used for? They can be used for analytical and this is a question that you also want to ask yourself, and what AI will ask you as well, is what are educational analytics used for? They are used for educational mining, academic analytics, and predictive modeling. So using these terms, thinking about what you really want your search to be to be about by the end of the day are things that you all want to make sure that you know before you get on, and AI can help you is a useful adjunct to helping you get decent search results on these particular topics. AI can also be it. One way of thinking about it is that AI can be a useful search friend, a search companion. It can also be an answer generator, but do not trust it too quickly and too critically. Remember, you don't want to overframe it to get a supposed answer before you really get to the actual answer. So AI can enhance exploration. It supports iteration or changeability while also widening the search space. It generates a query variants such as synonyms and related terms. It can also provide overviews that help students check and reorient themselves to get to better answers. So AI can suggest source types, reviews, methods, papers, and data sets. They can help students plan what should I check next. If a student prompts a results in a vague results, AI can help by proposing alternative changes such as student engagement versus motivation. AI can also help expand exploration when it is combined with verification. In dealing with AI, like many other, like all other tools in research, you need to verify, and with AI, this is particularly important. So this leads us to the practical loop for AI-augmented searching. So you're doing your search with AI. AI is augmenting or helping your searching. So the various phases in this are: you ask, you explore, you look at the different possible results, then you verify, check, which means basically to check out what you've done, and then sort of reflect on what you've had, what you've gathered, to see if it really matches, if it's really true, if it's really valid, if it really answers what you're asking. You reflect, and then you continue the loop again until you get to you are looking for. So the first one, ask. That means state your purpose, and realize what your constraints are. You're limited in terms of all kinds of resources, so you're not going to be able to explore everything on a possible subject. So you need to state your purpose very carefully, very succinctly, very purposefully, and then know what some of the constraints are for your research. Explore. You're not going to find for for almost anything you can think of. You're not going to find the right answer necessarily in your first go round. So you should try multiple searches to see if you can get better searches, ones that are more appropriate for your particular issue, and making sure that you get find the search that is the best match. Then again, verify, locate and evaluate your evidence, make sure that what you're stating is correct, accurate, and actually exists. There's any number of instances where people have run into hallucinations, where a source, event, person, etc., don't actually exist. So it is up to you evaluate your evidence to make sure that it is accurate before you put it in your paper. And then this is part of the reflection process. The records may have changed, or your focus may have changed, so you may want to ask yourself why, and engage in meaningful reflection as whenever you near the end of a phase of the loop. So one example would be what do recent studies say about misinformation literacy in schools? So part of your search for media literacy. You can use terms such as media literacy, critical information literacy, civic online reasoning. For your verification, find at least two independent studies or reviews. Check your methods used. Make sure you always verify your finding. Use the best evidence possible. In most cases, that will be scholarly peer-reviewed journals. And reflect. You may issue reflections like my issue narrowed after I found a different or better definition. Prepare to run into cases in which you do have to change your research, you do have to change your mind, develop a new perspective. This is all part of the research process. Keep in mind also being able to develop skills in lateral reading and lateral verification. In terms of lateral reading, instead of only reading down a web page, you as a user should open new tabs to search for information about the source or organization, checking to see if other reputable sources verify the same claims. If you notice that a number of reputable sources are verifying the same claims, that's a good sign that you have verifiable, reputable sources. Lateral verification is also something that you need to practice too. You need to practice both lateral reading and lateral verification. And with lateral verification, it's specifically checking for outside verification rather than relying solely on the source itself, relying on other reputable sources in order to buttress up your research. One thing to add as you near the end of your research is to critically evaluate the AI suggested sources using a checklist such as this. Authority, check to see the authority of your source, who or what organization produced this information. Next would be evidence. Does it include data, citation, or methods that you can review or readily review? relevance. Does your source answer the specific question that you asked? If it's not relevant, then there's really no need to use it in your particular paper. If it's interesting, looks like it would work for another paper in another class, for example, certainly use it for that class. No need to use it for this particular paper. Recency, is it current enough for your topic? This depends upon the area and topic that you're working on. If you're working on something that's strictly historical, may not be as important in terms of the events, but certainly the interpretations, you would want to include recent interpretations of history in addition to some of the older, more traditional interpretations of the same event. Bias or framing, what is emphasized or what is missing in your particular source, make a note of that and also let your reader know that as well, particularly if there's something glaring that is either emphasized or missing, and also what the perspective is of the particular writer on this particular issue. Cross-checking for make sure that your work is independently corroborated. We want to make sure that our students are well aware of the critical evaluation, and that is going through a checklist, or either this checklist or other checklists that might be available that will urge that they consider checking the authority, the evidence, relevance, recency, bias, and framing, and cross-checking. This is true with every other kind of academic research, and it is especially true with new tools of research such as AI. So also develop as you go, as you work with AI, an effective workflow. AI suggests certain sources. The student locates the sources, checks the publication, studies the design of the work, finds article, finds article A, then finds article B, which critiques or confirms or disputes Article A, and makes a note of that in their research, making a judgment call whether to use one or both of these articles in their work. This is all part of the process of what we call verification literacy. Verification literacy is the ability to critically evaluate, check, and confirm the truthfulness, accuracy, and completeness of information, combat misinformation, to avoid misinformation, to call misinformation out when you see it. It involves developing a verify first viewpoint using tools such as lateral reading and lateral verification. We're not saying you necessarily distrust, but still you want to verify. This checklist is also a really good training for professional research behavior as you go on in the future. So as we close with this, we'll go over some of the major points again. When you need to be particularly cautious when you rely on AI outputs. Yes, use AI. Yes, be proficient at it, but realize what it can and cannot do, realize its limitations, realize the ethics that are involved with using AI. You also want to, as professors, you want to verify, and you want to require verifiability on the part of your students to provide evidence that can be reviewed and reviewed. Also encourage expanding your research as you go along, even if it takes you on different directions, takes you to different source types. And then you also want to assess the reasoning and research decisions. You're not coming up with magical answers, but you do want to come up with answers that are meaningful, that answer your questions, and are that are that you've practiced ethical research, and keep in mind that in the academic world now, and it's been in the news recently, that there's been a number of large proportion of studies, fairly recent studies that went through the entire process that have not been, that are not replicable, and so that is a major problem in the academic world, and something that we should all be wary of and all practice as good research ethics and good research skills as we possibly can. And with that, I thank you for coming to this presentation today, and I welcome any questions or any comments that you have, and looking forward to continuing to work with you at the library and any of your research needs and answering any questions that you have that I might be able to answer.
Thank you, Chris. That was great. As with all the other webinars in this series, it's a reminder that AI is a tool. It can both help us and hinder us in our, research process these days. So, as Chris said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them in the chat. And we will also have time for questions unrecorded. Just waiting to see if any come in. We did have a request for your slides, so I let people know that we will get those out later today.
Okay. Would be very happy to have them sent out.
Right. I'm not seeing any questions come in, so I am going to go ahead and end the recording in case anyone would like to ask questions unrecorded. And this recording will be sent out later today as well.